Thanks to NordPass for sponsoring this incredible video. Nothing prepared me for what Wonder Woman 1984 had to offer. More proof that reviewers that get an early screening to these Hollywood blockbusters are shills of the highest caliber. If anyone tells you this film is fine or good, they are filthy fucking liars. The beginning was fine, and anything above a bucket of shit for DC is a pretty good start. We start with a flashback of a young Wonder Woman completing a ridiculous obstacle course that Diana nearly wins if she hadn't have crashed at the big balls. Then bang, we're in 1984, where Wonder Woman goes extra cheese, capturing weirdos in a shopping mall heist that's gone wrong. It's definitely not great with extra cringe and very bad special effects, but it's still just staying above some of the horror we have had to witness from DC before. So much so that I was starting to think that the critics of this film may have been a bit harsh. You know, it's a superhero film. It's going to be a bit silly. But I was wrong. So wrong. This has to be one of the most cliched, badly written films I've ever seen. Firstly, the villains. Maxwell Lord. I'm sorry, Pedro seems nice, but this guy cannot act. He was entertaining in his limited role on Game of Thrones, but even under the Mando mask he's been struggling. His performance in this movie is terrible.
You can't stop me! No one can!
But to be fair, the film swings from taking itself seriously to Mars attacks. The poor guy probably didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Mr. President, we're going to need to get you to safety.
Patty Jenkins, who wrote Wonder Woman 1984 and is also the director, is quoted as saying that seeing the original Superman starring Christopher Reeve inspired her to pursue film as a career. Well, she's done well, because in this one film she goes from Superman 1 straight to Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, and that ain't no exaggeration.
First, I have fun.
The only stupid thing they didn't do was have a battle on the moon. And then we have Barbara Minerva. Barbara Minerva is just a horrible cliche, and the casting of Kirsten Wiig was just a bad idea. Her bumbling full routine is so over the top.
You read Latin? Yeah.
Especially for someone with something like 5 PhDs, it's hard to even stay with the film. Even though this is set in 1984, we're not actually in 1984. The study nerd done this badly seems very dated. We all know they ended up running the world. She also works with some real jock arsehole types, which is quite weird for fellow museum researchers, but Kirsten Wiig just doesn't work. When you put an action man like Arnie in a kindergarten setting, you are constantly aware that the tough guy will be coming out at some stage. When sexy Michelle Pfeiffer was made to look like a weird loner, you know that sexiness is just waiting under the surface to break free, like an Arnie punch. But when you start with an actress known for playing the same exact character in every comedy she does, well, they weren't all comedies. She was in Ghostbusters. It's very hard to know when to take her seriously. When we see her at the supposed height of her coolness, it feels like we're watching Zoolander. And that's before she even peaks and joins the cast of Cats. Seriously, have a look at her. Ah, God. Like a lot of the scenes in this film, we've seen it done before and a lot better in other movies. Now, the film is set in the 80s for no real apparent reason. Where in Stranger Things, the setting of the 80s adds so much to the story. Kids being allowed out at night on their dragsters, parents not even caring where they are, walkie-talkies, no mobiles. It all adds to the creepy setting. But in this film, it just seems to be purely for marketing, because besides a few sight gags, they hardly worry to style it like the 80s at all. Oh look, some 80s glasses. And apparently they were going for the greed of the 80s. But there is no Gordon Gekko in this movie. Instead, we have a loser called Maxwell Lord. He's doing evil things just to save his business and his dignity. It sounds way more like a 2020 story than a 1984 story. Now, the big amazing idea that was dreamed up for this movie was an item called the Dreamstone that grants wishes. So, just magic. Now, magic is always a hard element to use in a movie because, like time travel, if it's not handled well and with skill by the writers, it just brings a heap of questions and problems. Writers usually try and have some type of consistency with the magic rules so we can be invested and understand what's at stake and what's going on. But none of that matters here because the magic rules are made up and changed as the film goes along. So shit. 1 minute, you're only granted one wish.
Wait a minute. Have I asked for your wish before?
Which seemed to only come up late in the film. Then all of a sudden, you can have a second wish if need be. Some wishes are granted and they have a literal outcome, while other wishes are answered with some weird variant of the request. Sometimes you're under the magic spell of the wish giver.
Very good, sir.
Other times the wishee can just backchat like a smartass.
You are a silly man.
For 90% of the film, you have to touch the Dreamstone or be touched by Maxwell for the wish to work. Then that idea just gets ditched so they can broadcast the wish giving to the world, proving again that Hollywood just doesn't give a fuck anymore. And the writers didn't make the wish's effect subtle either. In one scene, Maxwell wants to smooth over a business deal. Instead of just wishing that that guy would just help him out, the wish decides to get the IRS to raid the whole building, which I'm guessing leads to several people ending up in jail from the accounts department. So I'm guessing the wish also changes recent history for the families of all these guys and their co-workers so they can end up here at this time. Like, did they just vanish from where they were and there's someone standing there going, what happened? But that's nothing. Whole countries are changed to fulfill a wish. By the end of this movie, every human alive would need therapy. It's one thing to know aliens can arrive at any moment and kill you, but to know your whole existence can change at any second, well, that would make you feel pretty vulnerable. Daily life is pretty difficult when you're paralyzed with fear that a wall or an ocean could just burst through your house at any moment. And look, I'm not up with the full DC timeline up to 1984, but I'm guessing for most of these people, it's the first time they've ever seen any of this shit going down. But everyone seems pretty casual with walls popping up and rivers moving. There's godlike events happening around the planet. And like the writers of this movie, no one seems to really care. At the end of the film, the writers don't even go for the reset option where no one remembers what happened. Nope, everyone knows, and we just go on like life is normal. Move along. This wish bullshit storyline really got me going. Do you sometimes feel like you have to be some type of computer hacker just to log into your favorite websites or apps? All because you can't remember that super complex password you set up? Or find that piece of paper you wrote your password down on? Well, luckily now that we all have to live online, there is an easy and secure way to log into any of your favorite websites or apps using the wonderful time-saving NordPass.
Unbelievable.
Sign up for an account and NordPass will remember all of your passwords for you. There is even an option to let NordPass choose the passwords, which is definitely more secure than just using your pet's name.
We're talking about cybersecurity today and how safe people's passwords are. What is one of your online passwords currently?
It is my dog's name.
And what's his name?
Jameson. It's like my cat's name.
And what's her name?
Her name is Jolie.
You mean to give my password right now? Okay, one is
Grogu.
Shop online with ease with NordPass's amazing one-click password autofill feature. You can even use NordPass to safely share your passwords for those long-distance Netflix and chill nights.
Excellent.
And the best part about NordPass is that you can use it for absolutely free. Yes, free. Just go to nordpass.com/robothead for all the details. See the link below. So sign up at NordPass and sleep soundly at night knowing you'll never have to remember a password ever again.
Alistair!
And my two favourite wishes come from two of the stars. Maxwell Lord wishing to be the Dreamstone, which I assumed would just make him a rock.
I wish to be you, the Dreamstone itself.
And I still don't know why that was a better option than just carrying the rock around in your pocket. Instead, he decided to risk his life and see what would happen. But somehow, he seems to know what will happen. He seems to even know about the rock, which is a bit of a mystery. How does Big Max know about the stone and what it does? Well, we'll never know, because writers just don't bother with that sort of info anymore. But it wasn't always like that. One of the most magic scenes in Gremlins is learning about the Mogwai. Jurassic Park went to the trouble of giving us a full science lesson before we got to see a dinosaur. But that was before films were cut back and restricted to a full 2.5 fucking hours. My other favourite wish is Barbara's second wish. Yes, she got a second one for some reason, even though everyone else only got one. The writers really peaked here when she wishes to be an apex predator.
An apex predator.
How non-specific. The giant otter is considered an apex predator. If this magic is linked to mischief, as we're told, why not make her one of them? Such a clumsy line. All they needed was something to influence the decision. Just have a stuffed cheetah in Maxwell Lord's office for inspiration. Apparently they were all the rage in the 80s anyway. And when she does appear as the cheetah, and when I say appear, she just appears fully formed. No transformation. We don't even know if she's happy with her appearance. 1 minute she looks normal. The next minute she's this fucking thing. Fuck. And we are never told why she hates the only person who was nice to her. That's right. Barbara doesn't want Diana, who Barbara just accepts as a superhero. Barbara doesn't want Diana to take away everything she has, which is just to be popular and buy shoes. Two things Diana could have helped her with, even without magic, because Diana seems pretty fashionable, and I'm guessing you would be way more popular if you started hanging around with her. Pretty surprising to have a woman writer-director come up with the most misogynistic version of a female villain we've seen in a long time. Her weakness is jealousy and bitchiness.
You've always had everything, while people like me have had nothing. Well, now it's my turn, and you are not taking it from me. ever.
She doesn't care if the world burns as long as she's popular. Instead of Cheetah, she should be called a Kardashian. And by this stage, Steve Trevor's already decided to fuck off back to his planet. And like his arrival, it happens off screen. I mean, we can still hear him, but we can't quite see him. But before he goes, he had the perfect opportunity to put us all out of our misery.
What do you wish for? Just not to be handcuffed to you, but now I am.
Maxwell granted Steve a wish, and Steve could have just wished that Max never got the Dreamstone, or he could have wished that Max was dead or in prison or anything. Actually, none of this even had to happen. Maxwell Lord should have just wished for power and success in the first place. He could have left that office holding the Dreamstone with everything he wanted. But hey, I'm not getting paid the big Hollywood bucks, so Steve had to go so Wonder Woman could get her power back to save the world. That was easier than I thought, because all she had to do, and again, I'm not sure how anyone knows how all this works, all she had to do was renounce her wish, which leads to her getting her power back. And then we get a fucking learning to fly montage, which was
mentally retarded.
Then the gold suit, which she just happens to have and is never explained why, comes into play and just gets shredded by the Kardashian. I still don't understand Barbara's wish, but it made her stronger than all the armies of the world, apparently. Diana then drops the wings in a shot that you know is only done for the trailer, because she virtually stands there waiting for an applause. She then electrocutes Kitty. Kitty's strength scale is hard to keep up with. Then the bullshittiest of bullshit scenes, where they could have flown into space and battled on the moon, and I wouldn't have thought it was more stupid, as Maxwell Lord is juicing up his health by giving our wishes to absolutely everyone around the planet, which doesn't really fit his plan, because if everyone is wealthy, then no one is. And don't tell me there ain't like at least 1,000 people saying they want to be the richest and most powerful person in the world. So how's that going to work out? So while Maxie Boy's juicing up, Diana secretly lassos him, which somehow lets her broadcast to the world that they need to renounce their wishes. And surprisingly, they all do. Even the ones whose wishes weren't hurting anyone, like parents in the hospital wishing for their child to recover from cancer. They all agreed to cancel the wish. Poor people living on the street, they agreed to return the wish cash. Even all the guys who asked for bigger dicks agreed to think of others, which strangely is what they were trying to do in the first place. They all renounced having their dreams become a reality because a strange voice over the TV told them to do so. A voice they'd never heard before. They don't even know who Wonder Woman is. What a strange, weird, confusing message this film's trying to get across. I don't quite understand. No, I did like this guy who, after finding out he could reverse killing his wife with his wish, he still had to take a minute to think about it.
Well, I wish you dropped dead!
Even when he renounces it, you can see in his eyes he's thinking, I'm fucked when I get home. And man, this film has an offensive view of the world's problems. Apparently all the world's problems would be fixed if we all weren't just so bloody greedy. Those bloody poor people. So greedy. Grim outlook on how these writers see humanity.
I'm not a great guy.
And in the final show of not giving a crap about your own script, we just reset back to everyone acting normal. It's as if the Earth didn't just experience godly acts, miracles, death, wishes being granted, world collapsing, nuclear war starting, the end of humanity didn't even affect anyone. Because, hey, movie's over. The writers are even too stupid to have Deanna learn anything. She started the film alone, not being able to move on from her first love. So you think they would have taken the opportunity to give her that first step, and she could have had a coffee with this bloke. She knows he's single, and she's already had sex with his body. I tell you, that'd confuse him. She just ripped out a few Polaroids of them in bed together. But no need to send her off happy with a bit of growth. Dickless here is somehow not impressed with the smoke show complimenting him in his clothes. Off you go, Wonder Woman. Stay lonely. And unbelievably, there's so much here that I've skipped over. Like Steve being able to fly a modern jet, the invisibility bullshit that she only uses once, the question of where they land the jet in the Middle East, because they're all cool about you landing just anywhere, the extreme luck of driving past the person you're looking for in a completely different country, the time skip world jump from how they get from the Middle East back to the States. And there's also the small fact that this film doesn't fit into the existing Justice League movies. But I think you get the point. This film is a fucking dumpster fire.